I like being here and being able to kind of explore and discover who I am away from my family.
I think this program demands authenticity.
I'm learning that happiness or a fascination with something is a lot harder than I thought. It's not just your surroundings that will make you happy.
Stories are really important, and we have to tell stories because sometimes stories are the only thing that survive.
I'm Hannah Richardson, a documentary film student. I filmed a group of BYU study abroad students as they hiked through the countryside of Great Britain. It was a dream job, really. We started in Scotland and headed southward to London. And while we hiked, they read poetry and novels, wrote essays, and walked through the landscapes where English writers had lived. But their journey was not only geographical, it was also spiritual. Because through their writing, they came to see themselves more clearly. When I started this trip, I was just an objective observer, the documentarian. I was there simply to record the students' growth. So I never would have thought that they would have such an effect on me and end up helping me to learn so much about myself. As we hiked across mountains and explored museums, castles, and cathedrals, the students recorded their impressions in journals and essays. Other days, they'd gather as a class to discuss British literature, or divided into groups to share their essays and give each other feedback. This film is my essay. And this is John Benyon, the program's director. His teaching methodology is unique because rather than focus the students' attention on just learning what's in the syllabus, his true agenda was to help them become better people and better writers by leading them through a process of self-discovery.
The purpose of this study abroad program for me is eternal growth. Changing your life so that it's better and better, and that's done through self-discovery.
I've been writing poetry since I was 8 years old, and it's always been my dream to be a poet and to be a good poet. Writing has sort of become my identity.
A gravel trail glowing homeward, opening the gates, secrets, a rusty welcome, taller now and alone, not a child leaning anymore, now into a childhood and plunging and thrusting and falling and clinging.
The latest poems I've written are mostly about my frustration about not being inspired. Because I thought before I came here, it's going to be amazing. I'm just going to step into English soil and poetry is going to come pouring out, but that didn't happen, so I got really frustrated.
Claire is really positive and calm about everything, even when her luggage was lost for the first 2 weeks of the trip. But she's also one of those people that takes a while to get to know, because she's kind of shy and quiet. But I found that once I did finally get to know her, I regretted not having done it sooner.
Wordsworth's house was amazing. I was standing there and thinking, this is the kind of thing that I thought would make me write an amazing poem, but it didn't happen.
What does it mean to be in the English Lake District and not to feel? Must I come crawling back to these images someday with a thirsty throat and gaping heart? I wish for that hunger now, wish I could open my chest like a gate and let my heart burst into all of this like a child.
It's a lot easier to just sit back and have all this inspiration come to you, and you just have to write it down. This also relates to a lot of other parts of my life. I do it with pretty much everything. When it comes to education and spiritual things and friendships, I expect people to come to me and befriend me, because that's a lot more comfortable than having to go out and do that yourself. I have a poem that kind of demonstrates this laziness. Or maybe it's also low self-esteem, or like some part of me that doesn't think that I can take charge of my life. What if I walk in on you, sucking the marrow out of life? I would sit by you, watch your profile, neck bending down into your feast. And what if I held your face firmly and pressed my lips on yours, oily lips sliding on each other? So, once again, I'm watching somebody else sucking the marrow out of life. Instead of me doing it myself, I'll just kiss the person and get it that way, because that's a lot easier. That's something I've discovered about myself lately, something I really want to change.
After we talked, I noticed Claire go out of her way to make friends with a few people on the trip. She would shyly walk up to people as we hiked and start to ask them questions, and soon we'd all be laughing. Her laugh is so contagious. At the end of the trip in London, we talked again, and she told me about the changes she had been making.
On this trip, my writing has changed a lot, or the way I look at writing. I've just kind of written a lot every day, like even when I don't feel like I'm looking at something particularly beautiful. I just started writing about it, and then in the process of writing, I kind of, I stumble across some sort of beauty that I didn't see just by looking at it.
Maybe it really is true that inspiration exists, but that it has to find you working.
Watching Claire, I learned that finding beauty, even in myself, takes work. As Claire opened up this fun and passionate side of herself, I was learning to do the same. And both of us began seeing beauty where we had never noticed it before.
The goals are that we don't just experience the out of doors, but we try to write about it, and that the experience and the writing enhance each other. Going in and out of doors is a wonderful experience. Writing is a wonderful experience, but when you put them together, there's something that happens that really is magical.
When I met Evelyn, I thought that she was just fun, and a little rebellious too. At least, that's the role that she played in the group. This carefree person who got everyone out of their shells and doing something exciting.
I think it's important for me to know that I do have a deep side to myself, because I've had a fear that I don't. That was one of my fears coming on this trip, actually, was first of all, I was really excited. I'm like, yay, I'm gonna have time to write. That's gonna be great. And then on the other side, I was afraid that I wouldn't have anything to write. I wouldn't have anything to come up with, and I'd just be like, I guess I just don't think.
Before coming on this trip, Evelyn had made it a goal to write her autobiography. But she could never quite finish it.
John encouraged me to write honestly, but I was having a hard time with it, still. And so I just kind of put that project on the shelf, and I've been working on other things. But then, it kind of came up again, as I've been on the study abroad program. An experience in particular was when we were hiking to Haworth. During the walk, I'd been thinking about other emotional experiences I've had where emotionally I felt like I couldn't go on anymore. And one of them was part of my adolescence, and it was because my parents had run into some marital problems, and I was suffering with depression. And it was just a number of things mixed in a bunch where emotionally I just couldn't hack it anymore.
Evelyn told me her story one day as we were hiking, and I was surprised because I never thought that Evelyn was the type of person that had dealt with such difficult experiences. And I appreciated the fact that she'd opened up to me because it helped me realize that there was more to her than either of us had originally suspected.
So Catherine Saunders, she was in my writing group, and we'd gone over these essays, and I was like, I don't know if this is an idea I'm really going to develop or not, and she encouraged me to. She said, I think it's something you do need to write about. For me, it was like, why write about it? It doesn't matter. But I'm learning that it does, because it still happened, and it still shaped my character, and it still shaped who I was. I don't know, this trip has kind of opened up that avenue of my life, because I think it is something good to write about, to tell a story about, and I think it helps me relate to other people, and maybe, I don't know, allows them to see that there's some sort of depth in my character. It's been actually really relieving to finally find something to write about, and write about it in the right way.
By using writing to see her adolescence with an unflinching eye, Evelyn felt more complete as a person, because she realized that she's not only happy and fun, but also deep and serious. After reading her autobiography, I felt an even closer connection to Evelyn, because I knew how difficult it was for her to face her past honestly. And it made me happy to see her realize that she had potential as a writer.
As much as possible, we're focusing on individuals rather than on the subject. Everything is an aid to individual growth. I, as a teacher, am trying to imagine myself into the head of my students. What do they need? What do they want? They're trying to imagine themselves into the heads of their classmates. What do they need? How can I be a Christian to this person? And it becomes, at BYU and in a Christian atmosphere, it becomes an act of Christian empathy, or it can.
Bad was bad and good was good. We made it through the covering of the trees. But I just couldn't find the words to explain what was all jumbled inside led me to where I am today, that faster and faster I want to push not just myself, but my teammates. I've kind of been raised to see black and white, and I haven't had a lot of situations in my life that have forced me to see gray.
Kim comes off as a very serious, tough person. But at the same time, her favorite movies are Hilary Duff movies, and her favorite books are romantic novels. At the beginning of the trip, she seemed very content with herself and the way she saw the world. But then as we discussed the book Tess of the D'Urbervilles, one of the characters, Angel, really troubled Kim.
When we were studying Tess, we talked about Angel and how he jumped to conclusions about different things. So that made me step back and analyze better how fast I judge people, and how I need to not judge people that fast and understand situations. being on this trip has allowed me to see people that have been in gray situations and see the world as gray. And I think that's important because it slows your judgment of people and you really see situations, because the world really isn't black and white. And if I jump to the black and white immediately, then I miss out on a lot.
I come from a very similar background to Kim's. A very strict, religious, black and white world. So for Kim, the gray referred to that space between absolute good and absolute bad.
Like, even when I was writing this today, I was like, well, I like to see the gray. I think I need to see the gray in other people's situations so I don't judge them, but I still don't want to find gray in my life. But I questioned that, and I realized that gray is even an important thing to see in my own life. And I think if I see gray more, I have more of a dependence on Revelation and on Heavenly Father to help me, choose between these good, bad, like this gray situation.
In London, we saw lots of plays. And one play in particular, called A Matter of Life and Death, had a very unique ending because the main character's death was dependent on the flip of a coin, just chance, something totally outside his control. After the play, Kim came up to me, and we started discussing how the ending had affected us.
I asked a question about prayer, and if we thought that, our prayers really change the course of, life.
It's too bad that I didn't have a camera with me after the play, because Kim got really passionate and emotional. And so did I. Because, she asked the question, if you can't change the will of God, then why pray at all? Immediately, I tried to give her one of my black and white answers. But then as other people got involved and gave answers that were different than mine, we were both forced to see the complexity in something as basic as prayer.
And I think that seeing the gray, seeing this place in prayer that none of us really have the answers for, and everybody's different and it's still okay, has given me, I've just seen it more, and I've allowed myself to question it and allowed those questions to come out, which then, helped my testimony, helped me see all those things that we talked about. And I think it's helping me to see the gray, to make it individual to me, and it's making me have a better relationship with the gospel and with God.
As Kim's worldviews were challenged, so were mine. It seems like we usually start questioning something when it's not working in our lives. And so by searching out and finding an answer that sometimes doesn't fit the mold, our beliefs become more real and meaningful.
As we see more like Christ does, in other words, adopt his way of seeing the universe and seeing other people on ourselves, then we see more clearly, and we see ourselves more clearly, and we see other people more clearly. One of the main ways that this individual attention happens is we're working over the writing together, and then we have interviews with them where we're trying to find out where they're at and what they need to express in order to grow as a person. And to me, that's the connection between writing and this film, is that we're all trying to find out what is in the soul of this other person. The eye of the camera and the eye of the writing critic becomes more like a Christian eye, trying to understand this other individual and help them to express what they need to express so that they can grow again.
Past year, it's been a year of incredible changes.
I've gone through a lot of stages with my body. I see my body as a battle zone, and I have battle scars.
My first impression of Brooke was that she's the type of person that everyone wants to get to know. But she only allows few people to get to know her. And you really want to be that person.
I started a paper last semester after we read Tess of the Dubervilles. It turned into a story about my body as it related to Tess's.
I admired Brooke's ability to make deep connections with everything. I think that's why I was excited to talk with her about the paper she was writing about Tess. Tess is a story of a young woman who is torn between who she feels she is and who she appears to be. Tess tries to hide from those who love her because she's scared of what they'll see. Brooke felt like she could relate to Tess's story because of the secrets she was hiding.
I had a lot of health problems, and I don't discuss them, and I clutch them very closely to myself and leave people out just because those secrets are very satisfying. But Tessa's story, it ends at Stonehenge. And so even before I came to England, this destination of our group going to Stonehenge has kind of been this imminent force. I don't know the approach to take. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how, to translate flesh on the page.
After we went to Stonehenge, I was really excited about talking with Brooke again, because I wanted to find out if she'd been able to finish her paper. She told me she hadn't, but she was willing to talk about the things that she didn't feel comfortable sharing before.
For months, Stonehenge has been this destination in the periphery of my mind where I planned on going and meditating on my own body. I would just go there and I would finally think about the things I haven't been able to face up to. I was diagnosed with a brain tumor 8 months ago, and I guess I've just been running, and I haven't been thinking about it. I haven't told people, and it just makes it not exist. I tried to finish that story for this essay. Try to fill in the parts that I couldn't write about before. I don't know how the story ends yet. It scares me to death.
Brooke really didn't know if the tumor was cancerous or not at this point. After the trip was over, she was going to have this really intrusive brain surgery. So I just didn't know how to react to what she told me. I really wanted to comfort her, but I didn't know how.
I think I've thought for a long time if I could just articulate my feelings and my fears and my anxieties about this surgery coming up, that I would feel better and I could finally face the reality of it if I could get it down on paper. And then today, I'm not feeling better about it. It made me think, well, then what did I just accomplish in writing this essay? I completely sidestepped all my anxiety just in another way by putting this medium of art between me and the tumor. Right now, what I feel about this tumor and about my body, this mutiny against me that it's decided to do, it's ineffable. I can't write about it. I don't know what to say about it. I'm just too close to it. Maybe I can write about it later. I'm not trying to banish the personal essay. I think it's great what John is teaching us to do, but I think coming here has taught me that I need to approach it from different angles to see which angle feels real to me.
Ironically, when Brooke gave up on writing her paper, she was finally able to see her body and her tumor more clearly, which scared her. And it also scared me, because she didn't end up feeling more at peace with herself like the other students I'd interviewed. But then again, part of their process of self-discovery had also led them through moments of frustration. Besides, Brooke's story isn't finished yet. In a talk for church, she identified something that the entire group felt: that eternal growth is cyclical.
We hiked up to Tennyson Down last night, and I can see why it was such a place of inspiration for the poet. With the fading light and the abrupt cliffy edges, I felt acutely aware of mortality. And at the same time, the wide sea blurring into the sky overwhelmed me with the eternal. I had a similar feeling looking at Tennyson's Celtic Cross Monument, where the cross reminded me of death, while the circle reminded me of eternal life. It seemed the whole location was alive with dualities. But it got me to thinking that these things I was seeing as contrasting pairs are really on a circular spectrum that my human eyes can't perceive. For each of us, being perfect will more closely be defined as being healing imperfects. We will always be who we were and are and will be. There is no duality of sinner and saint or man and God. Like Christ, I picture us after the resurrection with our scars from mortality, marks of our struggles and sorrows. And like him, they will not be imperfections, but a triumphant symbol of who we are and what we have overcome.
Brooke's talk really affected me, because the idea of our scarred pasts representing something beautiful as well as painful was new to me. You know, I came on this trip expecting to be an objective observer. But as I used the camera to see past the surface and look deeply into these people's souls, I couldn't help but be changed. And now, looking back, I see that the Christian eye became the eye of the camera, looking at others empathetically, but also allowing me to see myself more clearly.
Will ye go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to